Hey, welcome to Out and About with Next Pittsburgh. I'm Boaz with John behind the camera, and we are here in Wilkinsburg at this train station. Now, imagine, if you will, the year is 1916. This train station has its grand opening. There are 100,000 people here. It is like a huge event. Now you fast forward to the 1970s, train service stops here, and this building falls into disrepair. It's rotting. The ceiling falls in. It looks sad. It's a bummer. But in 2016, the Wilkinsburg CDC came together with a bunch of other partners, and they renovated it. They stripped it apart. They made it brand new, and now we are here to give you a tour of the now brand new renovated Wilkinsburg train station. And with me, we've got the executive director of the Wilkinsburg CDC, Tracey Evans. Hey, Tracey.
Hi, good afternoon.
And we've got the mayor of Wilkinsburg, Marita Garrett.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello, Boaz. How are you?
And you do other stuff too, right?
I do other stuff too. Also serve as the founder and president of Civically Inc.
Wow. So let's go back in time for a second. Let's walk over here. And this is what I guess this train station looked like when it first opened. Now, do you remember, those days in the 1916s when you take the train here?
No, I'm not that old.
So do you have any recollections? I mean, you've both been involved and been in the area for a while. Do you have recollections of what the train station was like when, in the past few decades?
For the past few decades, it's been vacant and empty. When it was first built, it actually was the third train station here in Wilkinsburg. There were two smaller ones. And this was built because they were raising the railroad tracks for safety. So everybody knows in Pittsburgh sort of how we have the elevated busway and railroad tracks. And that's when this was built to accommodate that. And at the time, as you can see, it was a glorious, one of the nicest buildings in the region.
Oh, well, I, like Tracey, was not around back in those days, but I've heard many of the stories and how it really was, this beacon and really added to Wilkinsburg's heyday in the early 1900s.
And now we can fast forward through the magic of photographs to the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and I guess, do you want to paint the scene for sort of what was happening inside this building then?
Right. So they stopped having the building open in 1965. And it sat vacant all of that time. And it went into, somebody owned it privately.
I'm going to sneak over here so I don't block the photograph.
That's okay. For many years. And so as you can see, it was not maintained. The roof was essentially gone. It was open to the elements. And that caused all the deterioration. The plaster cornices had fallen off. A lot of the marble had broken. The floor was covered with debris, water. Snow when you'd come in at the winter. So it was very deteriorated, almost on the brink of being unsalvageable.
And now John's panning around and checking out some of the amazing plaster work and the tile and all this stuff. I mean, it looks incredible in here. It looks like, I'm sure it looks as good as it did, on that day in 1916 when it opened.
That was the first goal of the project, was to restore the building as accurately as possible to its original historic condition. So every bit of this work was done with craftsmen who were specialists in the work they did. The plaster family, Allegheny Plaster, did that work. The marble work, the terrazzo floor, all were specialists in their field and spent a lot of time restoring those elements. Even the paint colors were selected by chemically testing the paint to see what the original historic colors were. So everything, the light fixtures also were reproduced to match the originals, was as close as possible to the original condition.
Wow, do you remember, when you walked in here for the first time and saw this coming together, what did you think?
Wow. That was initially, which I've shared, but, okay, so we're going to try to do what? And especially, looking at these photos and remembering, I think one of the times you brought in some of the committee members and we came in, put the hard hat on, be careful, watch this corner, look up, all of those things. So to see it come to fruition and, as Tracey was describing all the work, and I'm just like, wow, you would have never known that the graffiti was there. You would have never known that the roof was completely open. And just to see that, you can't help but to get excited to see from where we've come. And, obviously we've had our decades of disinvestment, but to see that we're back on the right path and the train station being, the lead project for that to kick it off, it's awesome. Yeah.
That's so cool. And so what is your dream for this space? Like, what sort of businesses would you like to see in here?
We really are looking at a restaurant or some type of business that would be open at night, maybe a tap room that would bring people from the community, first off, have a variety of places to come and eat and dine in the evening. We don't have much of any nighttime activity in Wilkinsburg, so we hope to spur that and have people come in who might not come into Wilkinsburg but want to see this building, and they get to see how the community looks around here and the opportunities and, the people that are here in Wilkinsburg, how wonderful a community we are.
Oh, yeah, John's saying maybe we should walk over to hopefully the future kitchen space. And it's so cool because this, I guess you were saying, used to be the ticket counter.
Right.
So at one point, hopefully they can be passing dishes of pasta.
Exactly. I will say that this is a little bit higher than it originally was, so that's one of the historic, we made a little adjustment here so that it could be, so this could be a serving area for the kitchen.
Yeah, this is enough space so you could pass a 2-tier cake.
That's right. So that's the
Yes, old-fashioned right here, too, I'm also envisioning, so.
I like your style.
We'd love to have a cocktail opportunity here as well, because Wilkinsburg does have a liquor license now. Until 2015, Wilkinsburg was a dry community. And at the time, we did a referendum where we asked voters to decide if they wanted to allow liquor licenses in Wilkinsburg again for the first time since 1936, I think it was.
Prohibition?
Yes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
How did that pass overwhelmingly?
it did. Yeah. Right.
We're thirsty. We were thirsty. Yes.
Yes, it did very well. People want to see, again, somewhere that you could sit down and eat and have a nice meal and have a cocktail or a glass of wine. Salvatore's, our pizza place on Penn Avenue, immediately got their liquor license, and it was a really nice addition for them. You can have a beer with your pizza, right? And so, but that's the only location you could sit down and eat like that, in the evening. So this would be a great opportunity for an additional place. Also, there is a lot of growth around Wilkinsburg. As you know, there's many businesses in the East End, over near the East End Food Co-op. There's a huge project taking place called Rockwell Park with a lot of office employees and people moving into that area. And we're just walking distance. It's very close. So this would be a great place for people to go have lunch or dinner.
Yeah. Well, do you want to walk back to this back part over here? And I guess this is where people used to get on the train, right?
So, yeah.
And, okay, we've got a question of the week every week. This week it is, what is your favorite mode of transportation in Pittsburgh? You can think as we walk. Okay. I'll give you a second. Favorite mode of transportation in Pittsburgh? Let us know what you think right in the comments.
He says that you don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I live a couple blocks away, so I walk up to the office sometimes. So I guess walking in the city is my favorite mode. It's nice to be in a neighborhood that is walkable, that has sidewalks and porches, and you see the neighbors out front on the street, and you get to know people that way. So.
Yeah, I would say walking around my neighborhood, I'm more on the top of the hill. We don't have sidewalks yet, and I would say going into the city, I haven't since COVID as far as taking the bus, but when I used to teach at Pitt and getting downtown, just hopping on the bus station, which is right there, and getting on one of the P's, and it just takes you where you need to go, and you don't have to worry about it.
Cool. All right, so I guess down here, used to take folks to the hallway where you could hop on the train, which is now the busway.
Right. So
this is where John's going to fall backwards and break his back or something. Be careful.
Right. So this passageway did in fact go underneath the railroad tracks, and now the additional East Busway is here, and people could go underneath and come up on the other side if they were heading east, and then they'd stay on this side if they were heading west. So.
Gotcha. And you were talking about these other projects, happening in Wilkinsburg. There's clearly a lot happening. And what are some of, your goals? What do you hope to see happening in the next decade in Wilkinsburg?
Yeah, so I'm just going to mesh it
I'm
out.
gonna
No
just-
problem, right? Even it out. Okay, one more. Okay, one more. Okay, I'm sorry. So some of what I see happening down the pipeline is, we always talk about how Wilkinsburg is great geographically located. And because we're located near all of these things that have so many amenities and activities going, but we would like to see that really happen within here. Just as what Tracy was saying, the idea to get a cocktail or, some sort of restaurant and lounge, it would be nice to, for once, be able just to stay in Wilkinsburg to go out and not always having to travel to Lawrenceville, East Liberty, other areas which are great too, but there's something to said where you can have all of these activities home. So one of the projects that I'm working on through my nonprofit Civically Inc. is the Hunter Building redevelopment project. So just right down there, everything's only down the street in Wilkinsburg because we're only 2.2 square miles. But again, adding to the progress with the train station, creating office space, creating, actually helping to create and incubate small businesses, specifically women-owned, black-owned, minority-owned businesses, and welcoming other people to do the same. Not just one person or one entity can do this. We all need to work together to really revitalize Wilkinsburg.
And what about in terms of joining Pittsburgh and becoming part of the city of Pittsburgh? Is that something you think that's going to happen? Is that something you're into?
Well, you know it. Yes, and why I say that so eagerly is that it's for the best for Wilkinsburg. When I think about Wilkinsburg, I get excited. I want us to, quote unquote, have nice things. We deserve to have nice things. And part of that goes to eliminating our tax burden. One of the things I'm quick to say is Wilkinsburg, we should be very proud of the progress that we've made coming out of Act 47. Again, coming out of those decades of disinvestment and people fleeing the borough. So we should be proud that we've been able to sustain and grow thus far, but we can't go any further until we really look feasibly about our future, and that includes consolidating with the city of Pittsburgh. And the last thing I'm going to say is that for those in Wilkinsburg, for outside of Wilkinsburg, it may seem like a lot. Oh my gosh, you're going to merge with the city of Pittsburgh. If you think about it, we've already partially merged in a way with our partnership with Pittsburgh Public, contracting the Pittsburgh Fire Department, and Pittsburgh Waste. So 3 of our key services have already been merged or a part of the city of Pittsburgh.
It feels like it's the opposite of Brexit or something,
Rentrance? What would that be? No, I don't know. Right.
We'll have to workshop that.
Right there, we'll do that. Come back later for that.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I would agree with what Marita said in terms of Wilkinsburg's done a tremendous job in the past 15 years with planning, with managing finances, with doing a lot of community development work. Again, we do have many projects that are in the pipeline that are ready to go. And so those are positives. The negatives, however, unfortunately, are we have seen a lot of population loss, much more than any other neighborhood in the East End. We went from 18,900 down to 14,300, which was a 10% population drop in the census, and that was more than we expected, to be honest. We also have seen, a decrease in businesses and a massive increase in vacant property. And so there's a lot of good plans. We've done a whole vacant property inventory and really worked with neighbors about how they would like to see their community repurposed, their neighborhood, not repurposed, that's not, but really what was their vision? If you had a magic wand, what would you do with this block? And so we're going to be completing a strong neighborhoods report at the end of this year that outlines every neighborhood where people came together and met in their neighborhood with what they'd like to see happen. That's a huge, huge piece. We have a lot of pieces for the business district. Like Marita said, we work with small businesses. We have entrepreneurs that take workshops and classes and want to locate here. And then, the third thing, I'm trying to remember exactly where I was going with this, but we're really well, we also are doing a study because people are very concerned about displacement and gentrification. Honestly, we have had so many people leave that it's more abandonment right now. We have lost 20% of the black population in Wilkinsburg. And again, the neighboring suburbs in the East End have gained population. Both black residents and just generally have either gone up or stayed pretty stable. And there are several reasons, and the tax rate is really one of them, both for residents and businesses. It's very high. And then some of the other issues around capacity. It's, people, again, have worked together in Wilkinsburg. There's a lot of volunteers. People care deeply and want to see the borough prosper. And in order to do that, we need more resources. So we're well positioned with, like I said, a lot of community input and a lot of studies to move to the next level. But we need more capacity, and we need to fix that tax disparity so that the private market can come in and work better here in Wilkinsburg.
Let's get this mic to John.
I know that the consolidation question isn't on the ballot tomorrow. Is there timing in place for when the citizens of Wilkinsburg will be considering that question?
Yes. So what we're working on right now, we have a petition drive happening, and the goal would to be get it on the ballot in May 2022, so that it would take effect January 2023. Now, in the interim, to get it on the ballot, before we can go any further, majority of Pittsburgh City Council would have to vote to approve the question, City of Pittsburgh annex Wilkinsburg. Then it would be able to be on the ballot as a referendum where Wilkinsburg voters would then be able to vote on and have a say on their future.
Wow. Well, I think we're going to take a peek at this last little bit of the renovated train station. Well, either way, I bet we can get a pretty good view right here. Yeah.
Right. This was originally the baggage area, so when people would come back in the 1916s and all the way through, the passengers would get dropped up at the grand door entrance, and then the people, their drivers, would come around and with their cart and buggy and drop off their steamer trunks and luggage that would come through this entrance onto the baggage area of the train.
And then you're hoping that down here turns into some sort of maker space, you were saying?
Right now, that seems to be what has the most interest. The artisans, craftspeople. It's sort of a industrial feel. So those are the tenants that have seemed interested at this time. So.
Very cool. Well, it's just so exciting to see, that the transformation that's happened. It's like mind-boggling. Do you have any, now that you've, done this, do you have another crazy scheme up your sleeves?
Sure.
Maybe you could take a nap first.
Right, yeah,
I know. I'm going on vacation in 2 days, much needed. So Wilkinsburg, this is great. We got one building done, but we do have a lot of buildings that need to be restored and repurposed, reused. The Wilkinsburg High School building, we've been doing some studies there. Could it be affordable housing or mixed use or market rate, something that really serves the community. The old Penn Lincoln site is a vacant site where we'd like to see new construction. Like Marita said, Wood Street overall, the Wood Street corridor, which is about 5 blocks, I guess. The Hunter building is an anchor building. There's many buildings on there where people have acquired those, and we bought a building, the Lore building, and renovated that in 2017, and actually only have one space now that we're fitting out. All the rest of the space has been leased, so that's a good marker for people interested in investing. And Wood Street is very walkable. It's not quite as large as Penn Avenue, so we started there to get an economy of scale that we felt comfortable with, and there's people living in upper floor apartments on Wood Street. So we've seen private investments start there. The old Citizens Bank building, different projects like that have really strong interest, and it's exciting to have that possibility that we can see this. When I moved here in 1987, every storefront on that street was filled. They had little antique stores, businesses. And then it was the most vacant, strip of the business district. Almost every storefront has been vacant. So to see that turn around and ideally be vibrant and alive the way it was not that long ago, 30 years ago, is really exciting.
Yeah.
And your term as mayor is coming to an end. So what's next for you?
Get that out. Where how big I smiled. Okay. Right. All right. Sorry. Okay.
You've got. There's no cutting here. We're just showing. We're unvarnished. We're just showing it like it is.
That's fine. It is what it is. People know. No, and why I should say why I smile so hard about it is because, it's been a labor of love. Public service is that's definitely a calling. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve as mayor in addition to being on council. So really wrapping up, I should say, these 8 years elective office, because public service never ends. So now I get to take that next chapter of public service and really, focus on the work of Civically Inc., the nonprofit that oversees the Free Store Wilkinsburg Fresh Market. As I mentioned, the Hunter Building Project. Within the past year with COVID, we've really expanded. Now we work with Action Housing and resource navigation, trying to keep people in their homes in addition to utilities and just so much. And there's so much more that we can and should be doing. And now I'm able to, focus some of that energy and shift focus really onto Civically.
I'll jump in and just say I was on council for 2 terms, 8 years, and it really is a lot of work. So people should understand that in boroughs like Wilkinsburg or all across Allegheny County, they're basically volunteer positions, school board, mayor, and borough council. Election a couple days from now. I don't know when you're airing this, but it's hard to find people to run. It really is time consuming, and when you're taking your work seriously, you spend a good amount of hours doing, reading, researching, studying, trying to keep things moving. Work that should be done by, paid staff, not elected officials. So it's you learn a lot, and again, it's fulfilling, and people should run and help out in their communities because we need people to do that. It's important.
All right, well, we're almost out of time, but we've got a quick lightning round for you. Okay, I've got some questions. Just answer as quickly as you can. Did you dress up for Halloween this year?
Oh, no.
I did not.
Okay, that's fine. Your favorite restaurant in Wilkinsburg?
Okay, okay, right, that defeated one. But Salvatore's Pizza House and Nancy's Revival.
Right. I also like Fireside Caribbean on a cold day for some warm jerk curry, chicken. It's very satisfying.
Awesome. Okay, what TV show are you binging now?
All the Real Housewives franchises, so Beverly Hills and Potomac.
I never watched The Sopranos when it first came out, so I started watching that.
Oh, nice. Okay. Do you have a favorite neighborhood in Pittsburgh?
Oh, okay. So I actually have a favorite borough, but let me think my neighborhood. I would have to say it's close. Right, I can't just give one, typical politician, but it's close between, it's close between Friendship and I would probably say Point Breeze. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Neighborhood, there's a lot of great neighborhoods, and I agree. Point Breeze is great. Because I lived there for a while. I miss downtown. I don't get downtown to the city for lunches and meetings, and same with East Liberty, going over to the Ace Hotel, which doesn't have a lunch place anymore, as far as I know. So I miss going downtown for lunches and meetings with different people, and walking around the rivers and things. I haven't done that.
With Halloween just behind us, your favorite candy?
Twix.
I actually like Twizzlers.
And lastly, what dream business would you like to see in Wilkinsburg?
Oh, man. Okay.
Anything could move in tomorrow. What is it?
Anything could move in tomorrow. I would like of course, 2 things. I want a brewery, libation spot, and like a maker space where you can purchase the products on site. So like one side that, and then the other side like a libation or brewery place.
That's cool.
Well, again, yes, a restaurant right here in the train station is my first priority. I think I always thought we'd do really well with any pet-oriented businesses. We used to have a pet food store right on Wood Street in the Hunter Building, and I used it all the time. People in Wilkinsburg have dogs, because they're so close to parks, Frick Park, and now there's the park out in Blackridge in Churchill. So you see people walking dogs all the time. I think anything related to animals would be great. Yeah.
Daycare here, yeah.
I will say that, when we do focus groups and meetings, people want to see more businesses, right? More places you can walk in. Retail's tough these days anywhere downtown. Everybody's struggled with retail. But having places you can walk around, we have some really nice small businesses here now. Love It Sundries is a really cool. They make environmentally friendly soaps and products for your, cast iron scrub is their famous one. Get that for Christmas for your friends. They're online. Yeah, there's a lot of great little businesses, and I feel like we could grow so much more of those overall. First, we got to get those storefronts up and running, and that takes investment. But there's a lot of local entrepreneurs who take our workshops, who we see graduating and see them move somewhere else. So what I'd like to see most of all is those businesses stay.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I do want to say one thing. In my research about Wilkinsburg, I didn't realize Scholastic started here, like the publishing company. Right. Like Harry Potter almost wouldn't have existed without Wilkinsburg.
Or the book fair.
Yeah.
The classic book fair. Yes.
Can you somehow say like Wilkinsburg is the birthplace of Harry Potter? Maybe that's like a thing.
Yes. Wilkinsburg is the birthplace of Harry Potter, and also I got to plug the Babysitters Club because that's where I got most of my Scholastic books
Clifford
from.
the Big Red Dog.
Clifford the Big Red Dog, Super Fudge. Yeah. But we are also really the birthplace of radio. One of the first radio broadcast happened. There's actually a placard at the corner of Trenton and Penn Avenue, Larry Conrad. So that was pretty cool. What was on the 100th anniversary, about like 5 or 6 years ago, they dedicated and went to that ceremony. So we're the birthplace of so much.
Well, yeah, you heard it here. Everything started in Wilkinsburg, and we're excited to see what happens next. Thanks, Marita. Thank you, Tracy, for joining us. We'll be back next week for Out and About.